Junior cartographer Krixtal adjusted the focal settings on her third pair of eyes, the specialized ones she relied on for detecting minute details in stellar cartography. The massive holographic display of the Milky Way galaxy rotated slowly before her, representing 15 years of meticulous data collection by the Galactic Cartographer Guild. The most comprehensive stellar survey in recorded history, Guildmaster Zevlar had proclaimed earlier that day. Only it wasn't. Not really. Krixtal's finger hovered over the abrupt edge, where the detailed mapping simply stopped. A perfect boundary that corresponded exactly with the officially recognized borders of human space. Beyond that line, the map displayed only the bland notation. No further data available. The inconsistency was glaring to her professional sensibilities. The Guild had mapped distant regions far more challenging to reach than whatever lay beyond human space. The humans had been part of the galactic community for nearly 3 centuries. Their territory wasn't particularly vast compared to older spacefaring species. There was no logical reason for this cartographic void. Something troubling you, Junior Cartographer? Krixtal startled, her dorsal crest flaring instinctively. Guildmaster Zevlar had approached silently, his scaled face unreadable in the blue glow of the holographic display. Master Zevlar, I was reviewing the final projection before tomorrow's unveiling ceremony. I found an anomaly. She gestured toward the boundary. The map terminates at human space. It seems incomplete. The Guildmaster's outer eyelids blinked rapidly, a sign of discomfort among Altheans that Krixtal had rarely seen in her normally composed superior. Not an anomaly. A decision. His voice lowered considerably. The humans provided exceptional navigational data for their territories, but requested we respect their sovereignty regarding what lies beyond. But we're cartographers, Krixtal protested. Our mission is to document all navigable space for the benefit of all species. No other civilization has been granted such an exception. Zevlar's scales took on a pale blue tint, an Althean physiological response to stress. There are diplomatic considerations. The matter is closed, Junior Cartographer. Before she could press further, he abruptly changed the subject. Your work on the Orion Spur revisions was exemplary. You'll be formally recognized at tomorrow's ceremony. The diplomatic corps representatives specifically commended your attention to detail. The following evening, aboard the massive space station Concordia, representatives from 27 spacefaring civilizations gathered in the Grand Observatory. The holographic map dominated the center of the chamber, spinning majestically as dignitaries exchanged pleasantries and sipped drinks served by hovering attendant drones. Krixtal, dressed in formal guild attire, observed the human delegation with particular interest. Unlike the other attendees who moved about the room examining different sections of the map with exclamations of delight or academic interest, the humans stayed clustered together, their expressions pleasantly neutral. Magnificent achievement, remarked an elderly Volrathi ambassador to Krixtal, his gravitational stabilizers humming as he gestured toward the map. Though I notice it seems to end rather abruptly in one sector. Before Krixtal could respond, a human diplomat materialized beside them with startling swiftness. Ambassador Kroll, what a pleasure to see you again, the human said smoothly. I was hoping to discuss your proposal regarding the Arcturus trading routes. Perhaps we could speak privately. The Volrathi nodded and was deftly guided away, leaving Krixtal alone with her suspicions. Throughout the evening, she noticed the same pattern repeatedly. Whenever anyone approached the human space boundary on the map, a human representative would appear, redirect the conversation, and subtly guide the curious party elsewhere. Later, as the celebration wound down, Krixtal found herself near a service corridor where 2 voices carried clearly, one human, one Althean. The Drellcarians were asking questions again. Their military attaché specifically inquired about expedition permits beyond your borders. The Althean voice belonged to Counselor Vex, a senior member of the diplomatic corps. They always do, replied the human voice, tinged with weariness. They remember more than the others, even if they don't fully understand what they remember. How long can this secrecy be maintained? The younger species grow more curious, not less. As long as necessary. They're not ready to know what's out there. None of them are. Krixtal leaned forward, straining to hear more, when her shoulder brushed against a decorative luminary, sending it wobbling on its base. The conversation halted abruptly. A moment later, a human emerged from the corridor. Ambassador Reyes, the head of the Earth diplomatic mission. His eyes locked with Krixtal's, and his diplomatic smile froze in place. Junior cartographer, he acknowledged with a nod that seemed too precise, too calculated. Enjoying the celebration of your guild's remarkable achievement. Yes, Ambassador, she replied, heart racing. Though I find myself curious about the sections we couldn't map. Something flashed behind his eyes. Recognition, perhaps, or concern. Curiosity is the foundation of discovery, he said carefully. But timing. Timing is everything in both diplomacy and exploration. Wouldn't you agree? Without waiting for her answer, he inclined his head politely and moved away, rejoining his human colleagues. Krixtal watched him whisper something to another human, who discreetly glanced in her direction. In that moment, Krixtal made a decision. The guild might have agreed to leave human space as the boundary of known space, but she hadn't taken that vow. Whatever secret the humans were protecting, whatever lay beyond that artificial border, she would find a way to discover it. The map may stop at human space, but her investigation was just beginning. Commander Veshnor hurled the datapad across his private quarters, watching with grim satisfaction as it shattered against the viewport. Outside, the sprawling Galactic Exploration Corps headquarters glittered on the surface of Nexus Station, a monument to discovery that now felt like a prison. 53 successful expeditions, he muttered, running four-fingered hands over his crest of sensory spines. 53 first contacts, and this is how they repay me. The rejection notification still burned in his mind. Expedition proposal #GX7729DNIED. All exploration initiatives regarding unmapped regions adjacent to human territory remain suspended per Galactic Council Security Directive 115.3. A soft chime announced his first officer's arrival. Teleris entered, her fox-like features betraying concern as she surveyed the broken datapad. I take it they rejected the proposal again, she said, her tail swishing anxiously. Not just rejected. They've revoked my clearance for accessing stellar data within 3 parsecs of the boundary. Veshnor paced, his tall, lanky frame casting elongated shadows. Something's out there, Teleris. Something the humans don't want us to find. Perhaps with good reason, she suggested cautiously. The humans have proven reliable allies since their integration into the Galactic Union. Veshnor stopped pacing. Reliable, yes. Transparent, never. He activated a small holographic projector, displaying the official boundary of human space. Look at the precision of this border. It doesn't follow natural stellar formations or gravitational influences. It's artificial, designed to conceal something. What does your intuition tell you is beyond it? Teleris asked. I don't know, but I'm going to find out, with or without Corps authorization. 3 cycles later, Veshnor stood in a dingy shipyard on Outpost Kappa 12, a frontier station known for its flexible approach to regulations. Before him bloomed an aging but serviceable long-range scout vessel, the Stargazer *, soon to be rechristened as the Boundless Curiosity *. She doesn't look like much, the Taurian shipyard manager grunted. But she's got upgraded sensor arrays and enough stealth plating to slip past most patrol grids. Veshnor ran his hand along the ship's scared hull. She's perfect. The purchase depleted his family's wealth. Generations of resources spent on what many would call a fool's errand. His parents would be furious when they discovered he'd liquidated their ancestral holdings, but some questions demanded answers, regardless of cost. Finding a crew willing to risk their careers, and possibly more, proved challenging. Teleris remained loyal, bringing aboard 3 trusted Vulpcian engineers from her clan. 2 Cephalian scientists joined after Veshnor promised them exclusive research rights to any discoveries. But he still needed a lead engineer who understood exotic propulsion systems. The search led him to the Fallen Star a disreputable drinking establishment in the station's lower levels. There, hunched over a container of fermented grain alcohol, sat the massive figure of a Drell. Even seated, the warrior engineer towered over the bar's other patrons, his scaled hide bearing the distinctive scarification of a veteran from the engineering battlemaster's court. Morax. Veshnor approached cautiously. Drell were known for their volatile temperament, especially when intoxicated. The massive figure turned slowly, yellow eyes narrowing. Who asks? Commander Veshnor, formerly of the Galactic Exploration Corps. I'm putting together an independent expedition and need an engineer who understands modified warp drives. Morax laughed, a rumbling sound like distant thunder. And why would I help some disgraced explorer on a suicide mission? Because I'm going beyond the human space boundary. The Drellkarian's massive hand clenched around his drinking vessel, cracking its reinforced surface. You're either stupid or insane. No one crosses human territory without permission. I have something you might want to see. Veshnor placed a small data crystal on the bar. Records of Drellkarian ships that disappeared long before official first contact with humans. Morax's expression darkened as he activated the crystal, projecting grainy footage of ancient Drellkarian warships approaching what would later be designated as human space. The ships never returned. Where did you get this? Morax demanded. Corpse archives, buried under layers of security classifications. Veshnor leaned closer. Your people weren't running from humans, Morax. They were running toward them, seeking something. The Drellkarian stared at the footage, ancient family markings on the vanished ships stirring racial memories. My grandfather commanded a scouting fleet that entered that region, he said quietly. He told stories of shadows moving between stars, devouring worlds. No one believed him. Help me find the truth, Veshnor urged. Whatever the humans are hiding, don't you deserve to know? Morax deactivated the crystal, his expression unreadable. When do we launch? 1 week later, the newly christened Boundless Curiosity slipped away from Outpost Kappa 12. Its transponder altered to identify it as a routine resource surveyor. As they accelerated toward the forbidden boundary, Veshnor felt a shiver of anticipation. Soon they would discover what lay beyond the edge of the map, what secret was worth concealing from an entire galaxy. The Boundless Curiosity shuddered as it passed the last navigation buoy, marking the official boundary of charted space. Commander Veshnor felt a cold tremor run down his spine. They had crossed the line. There was no turning back. Sensors at maximum sensitivity, he ordered, his voice steadier than he felt. Teleris, maintain passive scanning only. If humans are monitoring this region, I want to see them before they see us. The bridge fell silent as they penetrated deeper into uncharted territory. Hours stretched into days with nothing but standard stellar formations and unremarkable planetary systems. No human vessels intercepted them. No automated defense systems activated. Nothing suggested this region deserved its forbidden status. This makes no sense, Teleris muttered on the third day, her vulpine features creased with frustration. Why hide ordinary space? We've detected nothing unusual within 50 light-years of the boundary. Morax, who rarely visited the bridge, lumbered in with a datapad. The engine efficiency has increased by 17% since we crossed the boundary, the Drellkarian reported. Ambient radiation levels are different here, cleaner somehow. Veshnor studied the readings. Artificial cleanup. On a stellar scale. Impossible. Teleris protested. No civilization possesses that technology. Perhaps that's what they're hiding, Veshnor mused. On the 5th day, the sensor officer, a young Cephalian named Neri, called out in excitement. Commander, Unusual energy readings at coordinates 227 Mark 43. It appears to be a nebula. The view screen adjusted to show a massive cloud formation swirling with impossible colors, electric blues and violets interspersed with ripples of golden energy that seemed to pulse with deliberate patterns. "That's not on any star chart," T. Laris whispered. "A nebula this size should be visible from half the galaxy." "Set course," Veshnor ordered. "1/4 impulse. Maintain passage scans only." As they approached, the nebula's structure became clearer. It wasn't natural. The energy patterns maintained too much symmetry, the radiation signatures too precise. Within its swirling depths, massive objects reflected starlight. "Magnify Sector 4, Veshnor instructed. The screen focused on one of the objects, an asteroid nearly 100 kilometers in diameter. Its surface was covered with structures. Towers, domes, and sweeping arches that gleamed with metallic luster despite obvious age. "A city," T. Laris breathed. "An entire city built on an asteroid." "Not human architecture," Morax noted, his yellow eyes narrowed. "The proportions are wrong, designed for beings much larger than any known species." Further scans revealed dozens of similar asteroid cities scattered throughout the nebula, a massive civilization frozen in time. All showed evidence of extreme age, yet remained in remarkable preservation. "Take us closer to the largest structure," Veshnor ordered. As they maneuvered into the nebula, Neri's tentacles worked frantically across her console. "Commander, I'm detecting residual weapons signatures embedded in the structural damage. Whatever happened here involved firepower beyond anything in our records." "How old?" Veshnor asked. "Preliminary dating suggests at least 2 million standard years," she replied, voice quavering. Morax suddenly stiffened, pointing to a section of the asteroid city. "There, those markings. They match ancient Drelkarian warning symbols. My ancestors were here." Before anyone could respond, the ship's proximity alarms blared. Talaris shouted, multiple vessels decloaking. "We're surrounded." The view screen filled with sleek, midnight black ships that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. Their design was unmistakably human, but unlike any military vessels in the official registry. They had appeared out of nowhere, their stealth technology rendering them completely invisible to even the Boundless Curiosity's advanced sensors. "Hail them," Veshnor ordered, struggling to keep his voice calm. "No need," T. Laris responded. "They're hailing us." The view screen shifted to show a human female in a uniform of charcoal gray with silver insignia that matched no known human military branch. Her dark eyes studied them with clinical precision. "This is Captain Elena Rivera of the Earth vessel Vigilant *. You have entered restricted space under Section 7 of the Extinction Prevention Protocol." Her tone was calm but carried unmistakable authority. Most unauthorized explorers turn back at the boundary. The few who reach the nebula usually flee when they understand what they're seeing. She leaned forward slightly. "Your curiosity speaks well of you, or perhaps your foolishness. Either way, Admiral Chen is intrigued by your persistence." Veshnor found his voice. "We are peaceful explorers seeking knowledge. These ruins, what happened here?" Captain Rivera's expression softened almost imperceptibly. "The end of a civilization. One of many." She paused. "Admiral Chen believes you deserve answers. Permission to board your vessel for parley, or would you prefer to continue this conversation aboard the Vigilant?" The shuttle bay of the human vessel Vigilant dwarfed anything Veshnor had seen on military ships. As they disembarked, he noted the vessel's true scale, easily 3 times larger than the largest Galactic Union dreadnought. Yet it had remained perfectly concealed until choosing to reveal itself. Captain Rivera led them through corridors lined with armed personnel. Their weapons bore no resemblance to standard human military issue. The crew moved with disciplined precision, their faces betraying neither hostility nor welcome, only watchful readiness. Your ship doesn't match any registered human military design, Tuleris observed carefully. That's because it doesn't officially exist, Rivera replied without elaboration. They entered a vast chamber dominated by a circular platform surrounded by weapon systems, unlike anything Veshnor had encountered. The technology appeared to be an impossible hybrid of different scientific principles, some recognizable as human, others entirely alien. A woman stood at the center of the platform, her silver-streaked black hair pulled back in a tight knot. Though she wore no obvious insignia of rank, the way the room's occupants oriented themselves toward her made her authority unmistakable. Admiral Helena Chen, she introduced herself, studying each alien visitor with penetrating intensity. I've reviewed your backgrounds. Commander Veshnor, 53 successful first contact missions. First Officer Tuleris, decorated tactical specialist. Engineer Morax, formerly of the Drelkarian Engineering Battlemasters. Her gaze lingered on Morax. Your grandfather was Fleet Commander Drazak, yes. His ship was the Unyielding Truth *. Morax tensed visibly. How could you possibly know that? Because we recovered his ship's log buoy. Chen gestured to the platform. What you're about to see is classified under the Extinction Prevention Protocol. Knowledge of its existence outside authorized personnel is punishable by memory modification, or, in extreme cases, liquidation. The platform illuminated, projecting a holographic display that expanded until it filled the chamber. The alien crew found themselves standing amid thousands of stars, each marked with unfamiliar symbols. Red, yellow, and green indicators scattered throughout the galaxy. The red markers indicate complete extinction events, Chen explained, her voice clinically detached. Yellow shows partial extinction with some genetic material preserved. Green marks the civilizations we managed to save. The display was overwhelmingly red. I don't understand, Veshnor said. These extinction events, they're far too numerous. Our archaeological records don't show. Your records are incomplete by design. Chen interrupted. What you're seeing is the true history of our galaxy, a history of systematic harvesting. She zoomed the display to focus on a single star system where a red marker pulsed. This was the Centauri homeworld. 6 million years ago, they achieved faster-than-light travel. Within 3 generations, they were completely eradicated, their bodies processed, their technology absorbed, their very existence erased except for what we've preserved. By whom? Tuleris asked, her voice barely audible. Chen's expression hardened. We call them the Devourers. They don't communicate or negotiate. They process evolved intelligence like farmers harvest crops. The Admiral manipulated the display again, showing footage that made even Morax step back in horror. Massive ships systematically breaking apart populated worlds, drawing up streams of material, both organic and technological. Humanity was barely into its space age when we intercepted a transmission from a dying civilization. Explicit instructions on how to recognize and defend against the Devourers. We established listening posts throughout nearby systems, gathering every fragment of information from species in their final moments. The display shifted to show early human ships, primitive by current standards, desperately fighting against vessels that dwarfed them. The humans launched themselves in suicidal attacks, their smaller ships deliberately colliding with the massive harvesters. We weren't ready when they came for us, Chen continued, her composure slipping momentarily. But we were warned. We fought with desperation few species can understand. The footage showed nuclear weapons detonating against the Devourer ships, barely damaging them. Human vessels, clearly outmatched, continued their relentless assault. We won because we were willing to sacrifice everything. And because we're very good at warfare when properly motivated. Chen's voice carried no pride in this statement, only weary acknowledgement. The final footage showed human ships fighting alongside vessels of clearly alien design. Among them, Morax recognized the distinctive silhouette of ancient Drelkarian warships. Your ancestors remembered, Chen told him, even when your modern historians forgot. The Drellcarians encountered Devourer scout ships 5 centuries before humans. Your species began militarizing immediately, instinctively understanding the threat. When we faced the Devourers, your ancestors recognized our tactics and joined us without hesitation. Why hide this? Veshnor demanded. The entire galaxy should know, should be preparing. Admiral Chen's expression softened with something like pity. Preparing how, Commander? By panicking. By attempting to communicate with the Devourers out of scientific curiosity. By developing weapons that would only draw their attention sooner. She shook her head. Humanity chose to bear this burden alone. We became the guardians so that younger races could develop without living in constant terror. Not alone, Morax said quietly. My ancestors stood with you. They did, Chen agreed. And a few others. The survivors. The witnesses. She faced them squarely. Now you have a choice to make. You've seen what lies beyond the boundary of your maps. You understand why that knowledge is restricted. What happens next depends on what kind of people you truly are. The descent to Earth took 17 hours in a stealth transport. Veshnor spent most of the journey in silent contemplation, trying to reconcile the revelation of galactic history with everything he believed about his role as an explorer. Tilaris meditated in her quarters, while Morax studied ancient Drellcarian combat records provided by Admiral Chen. They emerged from atmosphere above a vast blue ocean. No orbital defenses were visible, though Veshnor suspected they existed, hidden like everything else in human space. The transport descended toward what appeared to be an ordinary research platform, until the ocean itself seemed to part, revealing a massive underwater structure. The Pacific Archive, Admiral Chen explained as they submerged. One of 7 repositories worldwide, though this is the largest. The facility stretched for kilometers beneath Earth's ocean, illuminated by a bioluminescent technology that cast everything in a soft blue glow. As they docked, Veshnor glimpsed the true scale of the operation. Thousands of humans working alongside sophisticated machinery, moving with purpose through the labyrinthine complex. They were greeted by a dark-skinned human female whose lab coat bore an insignia of a DNA strand wrapped around an ancient scroll. Dr. Eliana Okafor, Director of Xenobiological Preservation, Chen introduced. She oversees our resurrection initiatives. Resurrection? Tilaris questioned. Dr. Okafor's fingers danced across a nearby control panel, adjusting parameters for a cylindrical chamber where something floated in translucent fluid. This will be the first Mraktar born in 50,000 years, she explained, her voice carrying the reverence of someone witnessing a miracle. We finally stabilized their genetic sequence after centuries of attempts. The creature within the chamber was vaguely insectoid, but with a cranial structure suggesting high intelligence. Monitoring displays showed complex neural activity. You're bringing extinct species back to life, Veshnor asked, stunned. Where possible, Okafor confirmed. The Extinction Prevention Protocol isn't just about guarding against future threats. It's about undoing the damage already inflicted. She led them through a maze of laboratories where human scientists worked on projects of staggering ambition. In one chamber, linguists painstakingly reconstructed an alien language from fragmentary recordings. In another, architects studied preserved building techniques, incorporating the innovations of vanished civilizations into new human structures. Everything we recover, we preserve, Okafor explained. Every technology, every cultural artifact, every strand of DNA. Nothing is forgotten. The tour took a darker turn when they entered the Tactics Division, where military analysts studied Devourer methods with clinical precision. Holographic displays showed attack patterns spanning millions of years, revealing an evolution of harvesting techniques. They adapt, a grim-faced analyst explained. Each extinction event shows refinement of their methods. They learn from resistance. Morax stopped abruptly before a display showing ancient Drellcarian civilization. Not the warrior culture known to the galaxy, but a society of philosophers and artists. "What is this?" he demanded, voice trembling. Dr. Okafor accessed the database. Drulkarian Cultural Archives. Pre-militarization era. Your species maintained one of the most sophisticated philosophical traditions in the galaxy before the first Devourer scout ships entered your territory. Morax's massive frame shook with barely contained emotion. "You've known this all along. That my people weren't born for war, but forced into it." "We know because we're following the same path," Okafor responded quietly. "Humanity was never particularly unified or militaristic until the first Devourer scout ships arrived. Now look at us. We've become the soldiers so others don't have to." She gestured around them. "This facility exists because we refuse to let the Devourers have the final word on who we, any of us, truly are." Their conversation was interrupted when a young researcher rushed into the chamber, excitement evident despite her professional demeanor. "Doctor, the Lazarus Project is showing unprecedented neural activity. The Centauri consciousness transfer might have worked." Dr. Okafor's professional composure cracked, revealing genuine hope. "Excuse me," she told the visitors. "This could be the breakthrough we've been working toward for decades." As she hurried away, Admiral Chen turned to the stunned aliens. "Now you understand what's at stake. This isn't just about preserving the present. It's about reclaiming what was lost. Everything we've shown you represents humanity's promise to the galaxy, even to those who no longer exist within it." Veshnor stared at the countless preservation chambers, each containing fragments of civilizations long vanished from living memory. "All this time, we thought we were mapping the unknown," he said softly. "But we were only seeing what you allowed us to see." "Sometimes," Chen replied, "knowledge is a burden before it becomes a strength. The question now is whether your people are ready to share that burden." Deep within the Pacific Archive, a klaxon shattered the methodical rhythm of scientific work. Veshnor watched researchers abandon their stations, moving with practiced urgency toward predetermined positions. No panic, only grim determination. "What's happening?" he asked as Admiral Chen accessed a nearby communication terminal. "Sierra 9 is reporting activity," she replied, eyes scanning incoming data. Sierra 9. He recalled mention of deep space monitoring stations positioned at the farthest reaches of what once was Devourer territory. The terminal projected a holographic display showing a distant sector of space where energy readings fluctuated in patterns too regular to be natural. A human analyst's voice provided commentary. Signal patterns matched Devourer communication signatures with 97.3% certainty. Strength indicates multiple vessels, possibly a scout formation. Chen's expression remained unchanged, but Veshnor noted how her fingers tightened almost imperceptibly on the edge of the console. "How long?" she asked. "At current vector and speed. 8 standard months until they reach the outer defense perimeter. Initiate protocol firebreak. All stations to condition Alpha." The effect of her quiet command was immediate and astonishing. Throughout the archive, sections previously hidden by holographic camouflage revealed their true purpose: weapons development labs, tactical command centers, and mobilization stations where personnel moved with the precision of those who had drilled for this moment countless times. On screens throughout the facility, Veshnor witnessed humanity's hidden military apparatus activate across Earth. Mountain ranges slid open to reveal massive shipyards. Oceanic platforms rose from the depths carrying missile arrays that could devastate entire star systems. Civilian vessels transformed as hidden weapon systems came online, their benign exteriors giving way to bristling armaments. "You've been preparing for this," Morax said, watching a formation of stealth fighters emerge from what had appeared to be an uninhabited moon. "For 3 centuries," Chen confirmed. "Every generation trained for the possibility that the Devourers would return. Now they have." A holographic tactical display materialized before them, showing the projected path of the approaching vessels. Chen highlighted a defensive line through a series of star systems, many containing inhabited human worlds. "Operation Firebreak," she explained. "Our first line of defense is established here, well away from major galactic populations. If the Devourers follow historical patterns, they'll target developed worlds first. Tuleris studied the display with professional assessment. You're using your colonies as bait. Your own people. The Admiral's expression hardened. Every human in those systems volunteered. They've trained for this their entire lives. Their planets are equipped with evacuation networks and defensive measures that will exact a heavy toll before falling. A Galactic Council representative who had joined their group after the alarm sounded stepped forward. Surely negotiation should be attempted. Perhaps after so much time, their intentions have changed. The humans in the room exchanged glances that made Veshnor's blood run cold. Admiral Chen's response, when it came, carried the weight of one who had seen too much evidence to maintain such hope. The Devourers don't negotiate. They process. They consume. If you'd seen what's preserved in the archive, what's left of civilizations that tried diplomacy, you wouldn't suggest it. She zoomed the display to show the defensive fleet formations already moving into position. We have 8 months to prepare the galaxy for a truth it has been spared for generations. She turned to face Veshnor and his crew directly. Which brings me to your role in what comes next. You have a choice to make, Commander. Chen gestured to a side chamber where medical equipment stood ready. Option 1. We alter your memories. You return to your people with no recollection of what you've seen beyond the boundary. You'll believe you encountered a spatial anomaly that damaged your vessel, forcing your return. And Option 2. Veshnor asked quietly. You retain your memories and become emissaries. You help us prepare the galaxy for what's coming. Chen's gaze was unwavering. But understand, there is no middle ground. Either you commit fully to our cause, or we cannot risk the knowledge you now possess. Tuleris stepped forward. What exactly would being an emissary entail? You would return to galactic space with a carefully crafted message. It's time for the truth. Not the full truth, not yet, but enough to begin preparations without causing panic. Morax looked at the tactical display showing the approaching Devourer fleet. And if we refuse both options, then you become permanent residents of Earth, Chen replied simply. Comfortable, respected, but unable to leave. We cannot allow partial knowledge of the Devourers to spread without context. The risk of misunderstanding is too great. Veshnor studied Admiral Chen, seeing beyond her military bearing to the burden she carried. The same burden carried by generations of humans before her. They had stood watch while the rest of the galaxy lived in blissful ignorance, preparing for a war they hoped would never come. How long do we have to decide? He asked. Chen glanced at the tactical display, where the signal from the approaching fleet pulsed with ominous regularity. Given the circumstances, she said, we need your answer now. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell into stunned silence as Veshnor's evidence played across the massive displays. Hundreds of representatives from dozens of spacefaring civilizations watched footage of Devourer harvesting operations, ancient extinction events, and humanity's desperate early battles against an enemy they had no right to defeat. When the presentation ended, the silence lingered, a collective processing of a history rewritten. Councillor Drath, the elderly Valrathi representative, was the first to rise, his gravitational stabilizers humming as he leveraged his massive frame upright. His voice, normally measured and diplomatic, trembled with barely contained fury. You deceived the galaxy, he thundered, pointing at the human delegation. Manipulated our histories, hidden the greatest threat to our collective existence. Admiral Chen stepped forward, her dress uniform bearing the subtle battle scars of recent combat simulations. Her voice carried to every corner of the chamber without technological amplification, a skill honed through decades of command. We did, she acknowledged without apology, and we'd do it again to protect you. But now we need your help. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Accusations, questions, expressions of disbelief. Council security drones hovered nervously, their peacekeeping protocols struggling to categorize the situation. The Sylvani Enlightener, a being of crystalline structure whose species was known for philosophical wisdom rather than martial strength, raised a glimmering appendage. The chamber quieted. "Admiral Chen," the enlightener's harmonic voice resonated. "You speak of protection through deception. Yet now you reveal the truth. What has changed?" "They're coming back," she replied simply. "After centuries of silence, the Devourers have reactivated. We have detected scout formations at the edge of our deep space monitoring network. Humanity has maintained vigilance, but this time, we cannot stand alone." The human delegation activated a holographic display showing tactical assessments of how each species' unique capabilities could contribute to a unified defense. The Althians' photosynthetic technology could be adapted to disguise fleet movements. The Valrethi's gravitational manipulation could create artificial singularities as traps. The Drellcarian shock troops, paired with human strategic planning, could form the backbone of boarding parties. Most surprising was the human request for the Sylvani, known primarily as philosophers and artists, to lead the communication strategy. "The Devourers process information differently," explained a human scientist. "Their neural structures operate on principles unlike our own. The Sylvani's non-linear thinking might find patterns we've missed, ways to disrupt their coordination." Morax, now wearing the ancestral armor of a Drellcarian battle commander, stepped forward to stand beside Admiral Chen. "My ancestors fought alongside humans when the Devourers first came," he declared. "I have seen the evidence in Earth's archives. The Drellcarian Empire stands ready to honor that alliance once more." Krikstal, the junior cartographer, whose curiosity had first noticed the mapping anomaly, found herself appointed as special liaison to the newly formed Unified Defense Council. Outside the chamber, the news was spreading across galactic networks, sanitized versions that emphasized preparation without inducing panic, but honest about the threat for the first time in centuries. Civilian reactions varied wildly. Protests erupted on some worlds, demanding answers about the hidden history. Others saw massive volunteer waves for military service. Religious movements interpreted the revelation through their own cosmological frameworks, some seeing the Devourers as divine punishment, others viewing humanity's vigilance as evidence of celestial blessing. In a quiet moment between strategic sessions, Krikstal confronted her former guildmaster, who had been summoned to the council to explain the cartographer's role in maintaining the deception. "Did you know all along?" she asked, her multiple eyes fixed on his face. "We helped them hide it," he admitted, scales shifting to a shade of regretful blue. "Some secrets are too heavy for public knowledge, yet now we all must bear it," she observed. When she asked why humans had volunteered to carry this burden alone for centuries, he responded with quiet admiration. "Because they could. Because they understood what the knowledge would do to developing civilizations. Because they are, in ways we're only beginning to understand, uniquely suited to standing watch in the dark." In the council chamber, transformed now into a war room, ancient rivalries were set aside as species that had distrusted each other for millennia found common purpose. Admiral Chen watched the cooperation with cautious hope, knowing that unity born of fear was fragile, but it was a beginning. "We've kept the night watch for 300 years, she told Veshnor as they reviewed the integrated defense plans. "It's time for the galaxy to see the dawn, even if it comes with storm clouds on the horizon." 5 years later, a new galactic map dominated the Grand Council chamber on Concordia Station. Unlike its predecessor, this map contained no artificial boundaries, no deliberate omissions. Every star system was meticulously charted, including the vast regions beyond what had once been marked as the edge of known space. Throughout these newly acknowledged territories, memorial symbols mark the locations of civilizations lost to the Devourers, hundreds of extinct species remembered at last by the living. Krikstal, now chief cartographer of the Galactic Union, made her final adjustments to the display before the emergency session. Her 6 eyes, adapted for detecting the smallest details, verify that each memorial marker was properly placed, each defensive installation accurately represented. The map was no longer merely a navigational tool but a testament to a shared history finally acknowledged. The council chamber doors parted to admit Admiral Helena Chen, now Supreme Commander of the United Defense Forces. The years had etched new lines into her face, but her bearing remained unwavering. She nodded respectfully to Krickstall before taking her position at the command station. "The outer sensor network has confirmed the readings," Chen announced without preamble as counselors from 27 civilizations took their seats. "A devourer harvesting fleet has breached the sickness arm barrier. Estimated arrival at the first defensive line, 14 standard days. Tactical displays activated around the chamber, showing the approaching enemy vessels, massive constructs that defied conventional engineering principles. Alongside them, thousands of smaller craft moved in formations that suggested both machine precision and organic adaptation. They've evolved," noted Veshnor, now Vice Admiral of the Galactic Forces. "Their configuration shows countermeasures against the tactics we used previously." "They always adapt," Chen replied, her voice carrying the weight of generational knowledge. "That's why we've prepared multiple defensive strategies." The chamber darkened as a comprehensive battle plan illuminated the space between the counselors. 5 years of unprecedented cooperation between formerly isolated species had produced integrated defense systems that would have been impossible for any single civilization to develop. Drellkarian battlecruisers, enhanced with Volrathi gravitational weapons, formed the vanguard. Alphine stealth technology concealed Sylvani sensor arrays capable of detecting devourer communication patterns. At the core of the defense, human warships, built with the accumulated knowledge of hundreds of extinct civilizations, stood ready to coordinate the Allied response. "Civilian evacuation from border systems is complete," reported the Cephalian representative, her tentacles moving gracefully across her data terminal. 17 billion individuals relocated according to the Sanctuary Protocol. Chen nodded in acknowledgement. "The sacrifice of those worlds will not be in vain." Outside the chamber viewport, the combined fleet of the Galactic Union gathered, the largest assembly of military power in known history. Ships of wildly different designs moved in coordinated patterns, their crews trained together despite centuries of prior isolation, or in some cases, historical enmity. Morax, wearing the ceremonial armor of the Drellkarian High Command, approached Admiral Chen with a data crystal bearing the insignia of his homeworld. "The ancestral archives of Drellkar have been transferred to secure facilities on Earth," he reported. "Should the worst occur, our history will not be lost again." Similar preparations had been made throughout Allied space. Cultural treasures, genetic repositories, and historical records duplicated and secured against the possibility of defeat. Humanity had taught the galaxy the value of preservation even in the face of extinction. As the final briefing concluded, Admiral Chen's flagship, the Vigilant, prepared for departure. On the bridge, she studied the tactical display showing Allied ships moving into formation alongside human vessels. "5 years ago, you gave us a choice," Veshnor said, now serving as her first officer. "Memory alteration or becoming emissaries. I've often wondered what would have happened had we chosen differently." "Someone else would have discovered the truth eventually," Chen replied. "Perhaps too late." The communications officer interrupted. "Admiral, all ships report ready for jump to defensive positions." Chen turned to face the view screen, where the vast armada awaited her command. For centuries, humanity had stood guard alone against the darkness. Now they led a united galaxy to face it together. "This is why we map the stars," she told Veshnor, her voice quiet beneath the bustle of the bridge. "Not to know where we can go, but to remember what we stand to lose." Across all ships, human and alien alike, a tradition begun generations ago by the first human defenders was observed. A simple message transmitted to every vessel in the fleet. "We stand between the darkness and the light. We are the shield that protects the future. We remember those who fell before us, and we promise. Not one more civilization. Not one more species. Not while we draw breath. As the Devourer fleet emerged from subspace, Admiral Chen gave the order that humans had prepared for since they first looked to the stars with understanding. All ships, Operation Sentinel is active. For Earth, for the Alliance, for those we've lost and those yet to be born, engage the enemy. The combined fleet accelerated forward, no longer hiding at the edge of the map, but advancing beyond it, writing a new chapter in a war older than any of them could comprehend. A chapter where humanity no longer stood alone as watchers in the dark. The galactic map no longer stopped at human space, and everyone now understood exactly why.